Hey everybody, welcome to Jen Lowry Writes. Tonight I have a dear author friend with me and I am so excited to introduce her to you. Her name is Michelle Derosier. She loves Jesus and is fueled by black coffee, espresso, and freshly baked bread. Sadly, she's not skilled at making any of the three. Culturally diverse stories from picture books to novels, and shares an assortment of Haitian-American tales that are overlooked in the mainstream. Welcome, Michelle, to the show.
Hi, Jen. Thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. You know how much I love your podcast.
So you know how much I love you as a lady, as a sister in Christ, writing friend. Like, you just bring so much joy and sunshine to my life.
Aww. Absolutely feel the same. Absolutely.
So I'm saying, guys, this is Michelle, but if you've been watching the podcast or YouTube, Michelle and I have been making videos for a few months now, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. We have been going through the process of just talking about a different author journey. It's so interesting, you know, that you're coming from a more seasoned place where I'm still your backlist tells me that you're coming from a more seasoned place. And I'm still going through, you know, the initial process of learning how to be an indie author. So it's been really interesting, and it's nice when you surrounded yourself with a community who's just really strong and really committed to your success as much as they're committed to theirs. So it's been really helpful to have the WJs and just their support.
Yes, love them all. And you've got to talk with us about process. You've got to share with us like how it works in your author life, all of that good stuff. Like, but before we do, I want to like show you guys Accepting Elijah's Heart first.
Yes.
I got to show it.
Okay.
The cover is amazing. Is absolutely perfect for the story.
Brandy McCann, who's my cover designer, I have to shout her out. She's really amazing to work with as a first-time author. She gets whatever nerves that you have and you're panicking, she's like still, and she just lets you panic, and then she goes, okay, we'll figure it out.
And so this is what we're talking about. And how can we have a panic when it looks this beautiful?
No, it came out amazing. I was so thrilled. I had a vision in my head of what I wanted it to be. So Accepting Elijah's Heart is the first full novel of the Grand Pearl series. And the Grand Pearl is this amazing pre-war building in New York City that all of these different residences live there, and we get to see their stories and how they engage with each other. So I have a release that was in just this December called Christmas at the Grand Pearl, which was
December 25th.
Yes, Christmas. It was this it introduced us. It was the short story that introduced us to characters that we'll be seeing across the different books. So Joe is a cranky doorman who really stays to himself and doesn't mingle with the rich. And then who does he end up falling in love with? But the grand niece of the grand dame of the Grand Pearl. So, you know, she basically harasses him into falling in love with her. She was like, look, I don't care. We've fallen in love. Your little issues with class and, you know, that you're worried about my money, that you don't have money. She's like, I don't care. Clearly you feel the same and I feel the same, and we'll just get over it. Yes. And if you don't, you're going to miss out. So I absolutely love Josie and Joe's story and was so glad to bring it to fruition just last month. Go ahead.
Christmas at the Grand Pearl that you had to put together, get it out, get that launch going, move that through, and you set yourself a timeline. Like you gave author deadline. So talk about the importance of deadline for you.
Okay, I cannot tell you how much a deadline will light a fire under you. So if you are like me and you're like, well, there's a deadline, so I have to make it, you might use that as a tool for you to be able to keep moving forward in your progress. So I actually had a conversation with a couple of fellow authors this morning, and one is struggling with, so she had a really great high in Nano. She got her 50,000 words, and now the 50,000 words are over. So what do I do with the story? She's feeling like she's stalled and she just doesn't know where to go. And I think sometimes, whether it's an external deadline or something that you put for yourself, identifying what it is that kind of pushes you forward, like what motivates you. Like if you tell me that at the end of something I can have ice cream, I'll do it. I'm there.
The flavor of ice cream matters, Michelle. I actually have that. What is the flavor that you would go for?
Cookies and cream. Yeah, cookies and cream. I will do a lot for good cookies and cream.
Okay. You know this now. I'm a grape ice cream girl. Back home in our community, we have grape ice cream every year. Homemade grape ice cream. It is absolutely amazing. Oh. So I put that also in Love Over Pizza. I was like, why did they ask what kind of ice cream do people want? I know. Carrots. What does that mean? Like, why didn't you say your favorite ice cream? Yeah, so the deadline for you, did you do an external reward or was it more intrinsic going? I really want to introduce readers to the Grand Pearl before they meet.
Yeah.
Elijah's heart. Was it that?
Intrinsic. Yeah, I joke that I do things for ice cream, but seeing as I'm on a, not a diet, but a change of health lifestyle for 2021, I can't do things for ice cream anymore. But honestly, I just wanted to be able to give the readers an opportunity to connect with the story. So when I decided to write the story centered around New York City, I am like the biggest romance fan. I have been reading romance, you know, I was sneaking romance before I was allowed to read it. So I have like authors that I fan over and have been reading for years. And I absolutely love the small town romances, and I love reading about the community. But I feel like there was a lot missing just around kind of city and central kind of romances. And I just wanted to be able to show, you know, what as a romance fan we connect with is the community, is the family, it's the love, it's just the connection. And I wanted to just bring that kind of feeling. It just happens to be a city setting, but you know, those emotions and those feelings are still there, just in a different space. So I really just wanted to center New York City and specifically the Grand Pearl, this building, and just seeing the lives of the different community residents in the building.
And it lets readers hear your voice because you have such a strong author voice.
Oh my goodness, thank you. It's coming from you. That's saying a lot.
It's like you are home when you're reading your books. Like you just feel at home in the pages. And so when you're bringing your characters to life, because you're extremely talented with character development and characterization, like just the dialogue, the flow, the authenticity of their language, one another, their heart language, their thoughts. Like when you bring all that together, do you do any character profiles in your process? Do you do any kind of character development pieces outside, or do you just honor the page and move?
I'm not very good at doing character development. I think just this past November, I've been more mindful of trying to go through that process. So when I initially was creating Accepting Elijah's Heart, Elijah just kind of, well, first Raina came to me as a character. I just knew a couple of things about her. I knew that she was a widow, and I knew that she was struggling with motherhood. Like that was the story. So she was telling me about herself for a very long time before I actually put her on a page. Like I almost was waiting for her permission to share her story with other people. I know it sounds a little weird, but it's, you know, there was someone, she was there as if I'm talking with you and just kind of sharing some of the challenges that she was going through, and she was trusting me to take what she was telling me and share it with somebody else, because it just felt like somebody else needed to just be themselves on the page and to just be, there's a part of the book where she's having a conversation with Eli, who is her, you know, accepting Elijah's heart. He's her, the hero in the story, where she's having a conversation with his mom about motherhood. And, you know, she's almost embarrassed and just like fearful that she's putting herself out there and admitting that being a mom wasn't something that she was ever interested in. And, you know, she loved her husband who had passed so much that, you know, that they made the decision together, but he was more enthusiastic about parenthood than she was. So I won't spoil it, but something happens in the book to her son, and she carries the guilt with her about the fact that, you know, none of this would have happened had she had been somebody who wanted motherhood, like the world tells everybody that women want motherhood. And there's a part of the book where like they come into motherhood kicking and screaming, right? But that doesn't make you less of a mother. That doesn't make you love your child any less than somebody who came in already knowing that parenthood is something that they've wanted all their lives. So it really is just an opportunity for somebody to just, it's okay. Like there's no, and I'm not a mother, and it's not a choice that I made for myself. But it is, all of these thoughts were things that I had to process for me, and conversations that I had with my sister and my mother, and just, you know, it's a different path for everybody. And if you do end up as a mother, there's no necessarily right way to be a mother. People are just trying to figure it out. And as long as you have that love for your child, then really that's the center of it. And
so when she's like, I'm not going to do the spoiler alert either. I will say that the book is coming out January 25th, but I have had an opportunity to read, except
yes, Jen has given amazing feedback.
And, as Michelle knows, when I was reading it, I read it in that day because there was no way she could see the comments all in that. Okay, I've got to go do other things, but no, wait, let me go back. I got to go do something else. Now, wait, let me go pull this up. I've had an opportunity to read it, and I've already pre-ordered it. So you guys listen, I've read it and I've pre-ordered it.
She's serious.
So as soon as Michelle was like, "It's up," and I'm like, "It's mine," and
she was the first pre-order. I was like, oh, she's like, I got it. I was like, I just put it up.
I was like, okay, now I will have it forever. And then when the paperback comes out, I'm just going to get it too. Who says that you can't have an ebook and a paperback?
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
But it's such a heartwarming story. And it's because it lives in a place that is real. You feel the struggle, but you also, and you feel her loneliness and her battle with grief. And tell me if you want me to stop. But, you know, you feel all of this, but you also feel Elijah's growth. You feel and how you capture his character development. You know, how he has to grow and commit and move forward and understand what's happening and learn how to be into this new role. It's almost like he has to accept his heart first.
Oh my goodness. Oh, look at you.
You've got accepting Elijah's heart. It's like, who's accepting it? I think it's Elijah's accepting it. It's Ray accepting it. It's the both doing it together. I mean, I just love that. I mean, the title is perfect. It's just, but it means more to me. The title means he's also having to accept the heart and the love that he has within him, so that way he's able to give, because you can only give what you know that's there. And,
No, absolutely. And Elijah is just, I think he will forever be my favorite. No matter how many heroes I write, I think he will always come back as my center of what it means to be somebody who offers yourself. So Elijah is, he's a former bad boy. I will say he's definitely not been the most committed to one woman, as he's now being led to be with Reina. So he had his own life-changing, life-altering experience that he went through, and the Lord moved him into a space where he came to be a believer. And you have this space where, as a new believer, especially as a believer who's been raised in the church, because you can be in a church, but you don't have a relationship with Christ. So we see Elijah through this space where he's actually growing in his faith. And imagine growing in your faith as a new believer and being placed in the life of someone who is struggling in her walk. So now you're going, wait, I'm supposed to be the one to help you through? I've been a believer for about 5 minutes. How am I supposed to help you through with the struggle of faith that you're going through? And we see God's hand moving in Elijah, and just God's going to place you in the place that he wants you to be. And, we think, oh, in his mind, he's like, yeah, you could have sent Reina a pastor. Like you could have somebody else, somebody with a theology degree, something. You're sending me, God? And God's like, yeah, it's you. And you're going to be the one to support her through this. So it's been interesting to see, just as I was writing, just like him in his growth with Christ, and just kind of sitting back and kind of watching it, and then figuring out what the words are, because he was just having his moment with the Lord. And I was just like, all right, are you guys done so I can write now?
So honoring that page is what you did, getting permission before writing the story. I love that, Michelle. And then how long was that? How long did that take from when you started? Okay, guys, we hear voices. Let's just go ahead and clear this up. So when you started hearing the voices, when you started hearing her, when was it that it actually became chapter 1?
Okay.
How long did you hold?
And don't hold me on the time, but I believe that when I wrote the first chapter was 2013 for Harlequin. So You Think You Can Write. I wrote the first chapter just to put it out there and to get feedback. And then I did, mine wasn't chosen to move to the next one. And then over the next several years, like I wrote the entire book soon after that chapter was done. But then I just kind of put it aside, kept going back to it, and then would put it aside again. But it was just a story that wasn't mine to put aside. Like it just needed to be done. At some point, though, this last year, when I decided, okay, I guess I'm just going to be obedient and get the story out.
Thank you for that, by the way, because I got to reap the benefit of that obedience for other readers.
Yeah, it's funny. This last year, Jenna texting Jen and be like, I just want stupid story to be done with. I'm over it.
What was it though? Like, try to think of that pivotal moment in your author journey where you were just like, 2021's the year. Like, this is it. Like, you just felt it.
You know, honestly, I think just in the last 2020, like I was more intentional about finding a writer community, and I have been blessed to find a really good one. And I'll, not because this is your podcast, but because you have been a really amazing thought partner. You have been an amazing friend. You, to see your author journey as well has been really encouraging, and to see some of the other WWJs, and I've also gotten into different groups to see other people's pathways forward. It's been motivating. At first I thought, oh, I'm going to be so bummed because everybody's so far ahead in the writer journey than I am, because I put it off for so long. But it's actually just been really encouraging this last 2020. And because I've intentionally gone and found this writing community, it's lit a fire as well under me to just get things out that I've been meaning to get out. So,
and I'm so glad, because this is book one in a series.
Yes.
So knowing that, that's what leads me to say, do you write down series ideas? Do you have concepts? Have you done any types of outlines for the series work? Or are you strictly just going, I'm getting through this release, Jen, let's just talk about it? Or do you really have like a long-term vision for the Grand Parole?
I do. So I knew for sure Jason is Elijah's best friend in the book, and he's really prominent in the book, and I knew that there was a story for him. Absolutely. I already saw their universe. And Lauren, who is Raina's best friend, I already knew that she has a story that needs to be told. So I know their story. Laura, who is Eli's sister, who's now named Caroline because I made a change. She has her own story. There is a reference to a Logan in the book, which is, so Eli is a firefighter. So I'm going to do, for this book, Eli's work as a firefighter is not centered, but there will be an offshoot that is around his firehouse that will be specifically, that will get to see the work as a firefighter as a center. So yeah, I have plans.
I love it when you said
somebody actually reads it.
Oh, hey, you've already got me, so you got me to read it. So you have to wait for one person keep writing. You have blessed my life with this story. So you've got the universe. I love how you said that. Like, you
I'm
already
a Marvel girl, so.
I figured it was coming. But for me though, looking at, you go from children's books, here we are at inspirational romance. That shows the dynamic qualities that authors can have, that you don't just have to stay like in one lane, that you can just chase that creative fire. Like, God wants you to be an author, and then God will say, oh, well, here's this for you. I've got this children's work. I've got this adult life for you, because you can inspire children all the way up. All the way, the whole lifespan. It's yours, Michelle. And you with that quality to be able to move within those audiences.
I'm thankful for it. And I think that, part of what you hear is that, no, you have to choose kind of a genre and build your audience in there. And I do understand the logic behind that. But it almost felt like I was forcing myself to stay within one space when I knew that there were stories to tell. For this specific season, there were different stories to tell that just happened to be both in the children's genre as well as in the romance genre. And I know that there will be a different season when the stories will shift where I go. So it was a little bit, I was a little bit worried at first that, you're feeling like you're all over the place. So then I started just kind of thinking about, okay, what is kind of the thread between everything that I do and everything that I write. Even when I'm not writing anything that has any mention of Christ or of anything that wouldn't necessarily be considered inspirational, I know that my center is Christ. So in everything that you do, do it for his glory. So I know that. And then when I think about what the other threads are in my work is that I center culturally diverse characters, right? So, I put in the stories that make sense to going back to the universe, to my universe, to the people that I see, that I know. They're not just one kind of person. I'm Caribbean, Haitian-American specifically. And, I just center all of those things that I want to see in a story. And I know that's just not there. So hopefully it will find an audience, but I just know that those were the stories that I needed to tell.
And so starting back, Ruby Bridges, I got to. See, I can hold Ruby.
Hi, Ruby.
Ruby is number 17, by the way. On
Yay!
Ruby.
Excited.
So, starting with Ruby, is this like where you thought that direction in your life? Like, talk me through Ruby, like your initial author push to get out there into the world.
So when I initially, I have a creative writing background. That's the road that I wanted to take, and then I shifted and was like, there's no money in writing. As you hear growing up, there's no money in writing. So you're just like, all right, I guess I got to find a job that pays something. And I've never necessarily been like, I put off my dream of writing, because I love the work that I am in my day job. Like there are many interests and I'm happy to explore all of them. But I always knew that I wanted to do writing professionally and to get back to trying to do that. So in 2016, I actually started with working as a freelance writer, writing articles that centered the intersection between being Black American and Caribbean American. So I had a lot of articles for some pretty major magazines focused on that. And then as I was pitching and, writing these nonfiction articles, I was just doing a lot of the fiction. And then eventually I was like, I really enjoy writing stories. How about I just really just go back to writing stories? And although it wasn't fiction, I did, through something, I can't even remember, end up getting connected with Capstone and pitched. And there was doing this series and wanted to talk about, there was Ruby Bridges, I believe there was Ruth Bader Ginsburg, several other people in the series that would, not Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It was specifically around introducing civil rights icons.
She was in the series. John Lewis.
Was in the series. John Lewis was the
John
other one.
Lewis,
Yep.
Right? Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I was thrilled to be able to write this. It was kind of getting to my desire to move to fiction, which was going to start with children's lit, but also kind of close out this freelance writing that I was doing that was around more nonfiction and that cultural, African-American versus Haitian American piece. So I closed that out. And I have been wanting to do Happy Harper, which is a children's series about this quirky little Haitian-American girl growing up in Brooklyn and badgering her parents for a pet chicken. She doesn't have the pet chicken yet.
And you guys can watch those videos too. Go down and check out some of the other videos for Michelle and I, because Michelle talks about her Happy Harper series. And so then you moved from Ruby Bridges to
Happy Harper. And I started writing her story. So her first story, Grandpa Comes Home, is her excitement. So she's 5. She's only known her grandfather through virtual communications because he's been living in Haiti. She's been living here, and he finally comes to Brooklyn and moves here to be with the family. So the day is from her perspective, what it means to get ready for him to be coming home, since he is her absolute favorite person. So by the grace of God, this is coming out on Grandparents' Day this September. So and then from there, I continued to write children's stories, but I kept coming back to Accepting Elijah's Heart and being like, okay, this is the year that you have to get it out. Like, you don't have a choice. And I was just like, okay, gotta do it. And here we are now. So.
And I'm so, so thankful that you had the courage to follow that voice. And to push through whatever that obstacle was, whether it was, do I stay in this one space? You said you had that worry, but to me, it's all about glorifying the Lord. And if the Lord gives you a story, wow, what are we doing? It's like he gave you a gift. He was like, okay, here are these characters. I gave you this gift. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to hide the gift that I gave you?
Yeah.
Or are you going to let it bless someone else?
Yep. And that's, no, you're absolutely right. Yep.
And so, guys, January the 25th, you get to experience Accepting Elijah's Heart. So tell me some things maybe behind the scenes that you've learned along the way that have been helpful to you as an author with this romance.
Sure. So as in the indie author process has been interesting. If you guys, for those of you who are still kind of on the fence and figuring out where you want to go, if you want to jump into it, there is an incredible community online just to be able to support. I have been learning everything like this. Both Christmas at the Grand Pearl and Accepting Elijah's Heart came about because I was just sitting there learning from people. Like, oh, so your cover, you get that the cover is important, but, the cover is important not because it pulls the scene from your book, but because it matches the genre that you're writing in. Like, what? So sitting there for hours studying, the inspirational romance space and being like, oh, this is how it's done. These are the covers that basically tells the audience before they even read your blurb what genre you're writing in. Learning about just what different distributors are, that you can go directly and publish your thing onto Amazon or Barnes & Noble, or you can work with a distributor like Drafted Digital or Ingram Spark who will publish for you. There's been so much that I've learned. Like, I feel like I was just an absolute newborn and I just sat there and just took information in and then processed the information. And then as I was going through and getting it done, I started to say, okay, based on what I'm trying to achieve, this makes sense. This makes sense. Because you're going to get a lot of feedback. You're going to get a lot of information from folks who are experts at this point because they've been doing this for so many years and they've been successful in doing it for so many years. But you always have to remember what purpose you're trying to achieve, because something that makes sense for someone else even if it got them success, will not make sense for you if your goals are different.
Or if you try to force yourself into their lane.
Into their path. Absolutely.
And you stay in your lane and pray. And I love how you talked about you spent hours and hours. Like, this is an everyday, I'm learning something new. Every day I'm embracing this knowledge, and what the Lord is putting in front of me is for my good. Whether it's a lesson for me, or if it doesn't work for my lane, I could always share it out with my writing community.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, hey, here's another possibility. Here's another avenue. But then sticking with what just feels right. So it's almost like, we're depending on the Holy Spirit to direct our paths.
Yes.
To direct our paths. And so when you had all of these decisions in front of you, prayer works. Like,
discernment.
Just being able to then go with those choices and understand that this is still going to be a learning process, but you never know until you do it.
Exactly. So, as an example, especially to those of you who are still on the fence about, do I go ahead and try this writing thing? Do I go ahead and try this publishing thing? Like, there's one of the big this way or that way is the KU. So if you publish in Kindle Unlimited versus going wide, which basically means having your ebook or your book available across different platforms and not just Amazon. Right now, I've decided that I'm going wide. And then I'm going to try out for Christmas at the Grand Pearl in a couple of months. I'm going to put it in KU for a while and try that out. I'm trying to, for the goals that I have for my story and for my particular path, at least for now, it's about seeing what works and what doesn't for me. I know I have certain things that I want to test out based on what I've been hearing, based on the successes that I've been seeing for other people. And after doing all of the process of discerning, okay, this is for me, this is not for me. So now I'm testing it out. My initial goal is to connect with readers, actually get readers. So I'm testing out putting Christmas at the Grand Pearl in KU in a couple of months so that it is free for the KU readers, and see if there's a community there to build from. If that's going to work, that's going to work. If it doesn't, then we'll try something else. But I think just the nerves about everybody's so far ahead, they know everything. They do, but at where they are in their process, there's somebody else who knows more than they do, and they're probably going through the same thing. So,
and they had to start somewhere. The thing is, and what I say is, this is just book one.
It's just book one.
This is a book one. And then you'll have another series, and then you'll have another idea, and you'll say, wait, I got another idea. The Lord is giving me this new story with this new cast of characters, and I just have to follow the Lord's lead. And then you will, then you'll look back and you'll have your long, extensive backlist, and you'll say, look, it started. It was being obedient to the call. It was doing my due diligence, my research. But it was also just taking that leap of faith. Because how did that feel to you? Like, when you were putting it up there, what kind of feeling was that?
I was like, it's been done. Oh my God. Well, first it was, oh my goodness, there are so many platforms and they have all their different requirements and then actually seeing it. And then I created a universal link and you could see all the different platforms. It was like, oh my God, it's here. This is so amazing. Yeah, it felt really good.
Yes. And I am so happy that you texted me, because then knowing that I was right there supporting you, boom, got that one.
No, your encouragement has been amazing. I can't even stress enough, especially for people who are just kind of starting out or still sitting on the fence, the idea of getting yourself a supportive community really makes a difference. And you don't think that it does until you look back and you're just like, oh, wow, okay, in such a short time, I've been able to accomplish quite a lot because there were just people who were pushing me and supporting me and helping me through it. So.
And you've got plans, I know, coming up for the book launch. And so tell us like some of that. How has that been to plan and what have you been doing behind the scenes for that?
So I have to keep reminding myself that I can't remember. There was someone who came on the WWJ's summer conference who talked about marketing in a way that just absolutely switched it for me because I've always been.
Or it was Mark, Victoria.
I think it was Mark, yeah. And I'm blanking completely on what he said, but essentially, the marketing is about it's the road to do the work that Christ has called you to do. So the people that you're gonna reach, the people he has given you the story to write, who he's gonna reach, you're getting the word out. Marketing is just the process of getting that story to them. So I've been a little less like, oh, this feels so smarmy with marketing, and just really just been connecting on different Christian readers community. Those were our communities that I would have been part of anyway, even if I weren't a writer, because those are the stories that I'm reading. And just different reading communities in general. So I've been sharing out there. I am deciding whether to do this Scrabble game kickoff with Jen here. So
I lose at every Scrabble game I've ever played. So if that helps you right now. Let's just put it this way. My 12-year-old, she's 12. Oh my God, she's growing up. My 12-year-old niece had higher score than me at Scrabble when we were playing like a month ago. So I will let you know that I'm not the best Scrabble player, but I love it so much. I find so much joy in playing Scrabble, and I'm so not competitive. So when I lose, I am so excited to lose because that means it can bring happiness to someone who is competitive.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you, because I am very competitive.
Great, because we would like really work well together, because when you would feel that shark attack, I would feel like the dolphin, just like
So Scrabble is a huge part of Raina and Eli's relationship. They absolutely love the game. So I put that in because I absolutely love Scrabble. So, as a marketing, just as a way to get it out there that's more fun and relaxed, maybe we'll do a live Scrabble game. I don't know. But I've been trying to figure out how to just get to the audience who might find this interesting. So I haven't figured it out yet. It is a process. But 2021, I came in with the verse, unless the Lord builds the house, those who labor to build it, labor in vain. And, it's in vain you wake up early and go to bed late and work in panic and anxiety. So I don't want to work in that space anymore. I really am honestly trying to leave that in 2020 because it clearly didn't work. So I'm just trying to honor the fact that I'm going to do the work that the Lord has given me to do, but the success will be from His hands. So,
yes. So joyful for you. I'm so excited for you.
I'm excited. It's been such a fun journey. And, I keep talking to the person or to you who might be listening, who is really just still sitting on the fence. Especially as a believer, we know that the Lord leads us how He's going to lead us. And, just actually this morning I was listening to my pastor is just talking about, we want the promises of God without realizing that there are those conditions to the promises. So if you're not being obedient, if you're not following his leading, then what is the point of him honoring that promise? Because you're not doing what he's asking you to do to get to that promise. So if it's been in your spirit, if it's been on your heart, and if you've been being led to share those stories that are within you and you haven't, maybe now is just the time to move forward and do it. Because your story, you don't know who he's giving you that story to tell. And, we're supposed to go out and share the good news with the world. And sometimes that good news is shared in a completely different way than you would have ever thought about. So
through a fiction story about loss, grief, acceptance and love and second chances and everything new. I mean, it's just beautiful. And you've captured it all in Accepting Elijah's Heart. Like you have it all there. Not only is it Christ-centered, but it's just a lovely testament of what the Lord can do when you invite him into a relationship.
Absolutely. And like I said, just as believers, our testimony is our testimony, whether or not there's one word about Christ on the page or one word about the name of Christ from our mouth. How we live, how we love people, how we support people, all of that is a testimony. So, whether I tell a story that's inspirational romance, or I tell a story that's a romantic comedy, or I tell, a children's story, whatever it is, it doesn't necessarily have to be only inspirational to be able to share the love of Christ with people. So
yes. I loved what you said about being led. I could see that as a hashtag, be led. My word for 2020 is obedient. Like, just to be obedient. That's it. Just have my time with the Lord each day. Spend my time with him so I can hear his voice, so I can discern his voice. And then just be obedient. And just move myself out of the way and say, all right, Lord, 2021, here we go.
And you're going to get that, you were obedient to move forward with Monarch. So I'm praying for,
that's it.
Yeah.
That was a part of it.
For the folks.
And then as soon as, I was obedient and I accepted that call, and then I start reaching out, the Lord just lines people up in our paths.
Absolutely.
The way that can give us little nuggets of knowledge. And that's what we talk about, you research this and you found these communities and this one was where I look at that as divine intervention.
Yeah.
The Lord lined all of these in place. A piece of the puzzle is solved. You have an answer, you have a question. Well, then there are people around you. There are people online that have gone before us, and they answer those questions for us. And so I'm so blessed that the writing community shares. Like, they are so willing to share not only their messages of hope and story structure and how do you plot a thriller or how do you do it. So willing to be so transparent about the author business, about their life, I'm so encouraged by that. And then they're just so supportive because they understand that we're all working towards the greater purpose in this. It is to bring people closer to Jesus. So we're all working for the same goal. Those of us who write Christian fiction or nonfiction, or if we just write clean fiction, and we have this whole, it's almost like we have this whole force around us.
Absolutely.
That we know that what we're doing can bring people the joy, the laughter, have diverse characters in a book, see themselves in a book, and then embrace that what the Lord has in store for them is their path. But
absolutely.
It can soften a heart.
It absolutely can. And you as the writer are coming into your work as a writer and anything that we do, you're coming in and asking God, you know, hey, God, I'm inviting you into the space, right? You are the one who's going to be working in it. It's not about me. It's about your glory you've given me. I have a thing where I've noticed, especially in the last year or two, about every time that God moves something or does something, there's a so that. So he does something in our lives so that, and that so that will be to his glory, but he's going to reach that glory in a different way. For me, it's about accepting Elijah's heart to somebody who just wanted to give up on being a mother, and this maybe might change their mind. Maybe it's somebody who's reading Elijah's story and seeing himself and being like, Lord has been calling me to change my ways, and they go and change their ways. All of that is so that the Lord will receive his glory by changing somebody, by blessing somebody else. So I think it's just really for you as the writer to approach the page, especially as believers. For us, when we approach the page, it's always about, that we're going to honor Christ. So how do we honor Christ? And inviting him to say that, these words are yours to move how you're going to move it. So you direct me.
And then share it out by hitting publish.
Yes. But don't hit publish until you've read it a couple of times.
Like your editor and do the cover and do all your research. There is a process.
There's a process. But
so tell everybody. Okay, so we've said this, I think I've said it 5 times, but I'm going to say it another. The book comes out January the 20th.
Oh my goodness! Yes.
January 25th. So you can pre-order it right now. So don't say to the podcast. I love you guys. Y'all know that I recommend the best books ever. So I've already pre-ordered mine. Go ahead and support Michelle and hit buy, share. Tell all your friends and family. There's a great new romance book about to hit, guys. You got to get it. So tell them where they can find you, Michelle, online. Where do you live?
Sure. I am writer Derosier, and that's writer Derosier. I live all across the interwebs. I am on Instagram a lot. I am on Twitter also. I'm on Twitter mostly to chat with House Hunter communities. I'm a big House Hunters girl, and also I'm a Hearty, so I can't wait for the new season of One Calls the Heart to come up. So I'll be chatting on Twitter about that. So not so much writing, but if you want to come and hang out and just chat on that, we can do that. I'm also on Facebook. Writer Derosier is my author page. So yeah, I'm all across the interwebs. And also, obviously, you can go to writerderosier.com, which is my website. And I'd love, if you pick up the book and you like it, would love for you to sign up for my mailing list, and I'll keep you posted because so many more characters have their own stories to tell. So I'd love to keep you posted.
Love. All right. Thank you so much, Michelle, for hanging out with me today. Love you. I'm so
love you too.
Praying for the success of Accepting Elijah's Heart and the Christmas at the Grand Pearl. We can never forget where that.
Yes.
Go ahead and grab that one too. Go ahead and read it because you're going to read it today. So you might as well get comfortable, get some blankets, snuggle up, and read Christmas at the Grand Pearl too. And that way you can get to learn more about Michelle's writing, which is absolutely fabulous. And then grab Ruby Bridges too and share it with your kids, your family, grandparents. Come on, y'all need Ruby Bridges. And so, Michelle, love you.
I love you. Thank you so much, Jen. Bye, everybody. Can't wait to connect with you.